Thank you, John. At 7:55. Now, the UK is home to nearly 40% of the world's population of grey seals, but disturbing a colony, especially during pupping season, can have fatal consequences.
After footage emerged of this runner, have a look at this, getting too close to a colony in North Yorkshire, causing a stampede and numerous injuries to the animals, a wildlife group are now calling for a change in the law to make it an offence to recklessly disturb seals in England and Wales. It's currently only illegal to cause intentional harm.
Well, we're joined now by the co-founder of the Yorkshire Seals Group, Matt Barnes. Good morning to
Morning, Matt.
you.
Good morning, thanks for having me on.
How damaging can it be then if a runner either wittingly or unwittingly runs through during pupping
It's
season?
extremely damaging. I mean, the seals generally spend part of their life cycle on the land. So they're intrinsically tied to the land. So unlike a cetacean that can escape disturbance by a boat or any harassment, a seal has to sleep, molt, pup on the land itself. So any encroachment on that causes them to try to flee. So it's a fight or flight response. So the hormones kick in and they try to literally just escape that perceived threat.
But what can you do, other than standing there at the time and saying, please don't run near the seals? I mean, the guy that we saw running wasn't breaking any laws, was he?
He wasn't breaking any laws, no. He did pass 6 signs, so there were 6 government-endorsed signs that he passed on that route, and he passed 3 of our volunteer stewards.
And they said what, those signs?
And they say keep your distance, obviously, and they go through an ethogram, so a behaviour of the seal. So if the seal starts to look at you, stop what you're doing, draw back, move slowly. What we ask people to do is just make a small concession. So on the coastline there, he was given an alternative path 50 metres to the left, but he obviously
So he passed
didn't take
3 human beings who said, look,
He
what
did.
you're doing is damaging to this colony, please don't, and he carried on.
He carried on. He was actually very verbally abusive to the stewards and said he wanted to carry on doing what he was doing and carried on with his activity. It's always a minority of people that sort of put their pursuits before the seals. We just ask people to have a bit more empathy, you know, think about the surroundings. We're all part of the coastline.
So how could what change to the law would you propose? How would it work?
Yeah, so at the moment, if you were to look at Scotland, for example, Scotland has a slight amendment in the legislation, so the seals are protected from reckless or intentional harassment. In the UK, we don't have, in the rest of the UK, so in England, we don't have that where I am in Yorkshire. So it's a bit of a disparity. If you were to, like I said, harass a dolphin or a cetacean, you would be able to be criminally prosecuted. With a seal, you can't. So if we were to have that sort of disparity levelled out, it would give the seals a level playing field and offer them and afford them a bit of protection.
Would you have to prove that it was willful, that it was intentional?
Yeah, I mean, I guess with all things, you could accidentally stumble across a seal, and that is a real chance. But in cases like this, where you've passed signs that are designated, you know, you're in a site that's famed for seals, you can't really plead ignorance to it. You know what you're doing. It's intent is what they had there.
And I didn't realise that for seals at that point, it says every calorie counts. They literally have to be where they are. They have to be rested.
They do.
In order for reproduction.
Yeah, it's really, really difficult. Every calorie counts for the seal. So basically you just get a calorie deficiency. So what happens is they're constantly doing this gym session. They're moving away from this perceived threat and they're burning all their calories, going off the rocky substrate to the sea, coming back to shore again. And they're just ending up very, very skinny and malnourished. And then ultimately they might need intervention further down the line. So we're trying to reduce that mortality rate.
Do you think that one of the reasons is ignorance? I know that with this individual, you spoke to them and they obviously just ignored what you were being told, but there is more generally a lack of understanding around how our behaviour can affect seals.
Yeah, I think as an island nation, we sometimes come a bit disconnected from the sea, so we might know more about terrestrial animals. So if you were perhaps in your garden and maybe a hedgehog curled into a ball, you'd know that's a defensive reaction from the hedgehog. But when it comes to seals, they are quite cryptic in their behaviours and how you read the animals. So I think a little bit's about education and increasing ocean literacy and trying to make people understand how these animals behave.
So I would never have known, I'll be honest.
You do now, though.
I do know now.
Yes.
So, finally, what would you say to people who are out on coastal walks or thinking of going for a recreational jog and there are seals around?
Yeah, we're not trying to police the coastline. We want everyone to sort of celebrate our wildlife. Just if you think you're in an area where seals might occur, just minor concessions. Make sure your dog's on a lead, in case you're approaching. Maybe fly your drone at the bay across. Obviously use optics, so try and bring the wildlife closer to you without physically having to go to it. So scopes, binoculars, and obviously keep the noise down.
And enjoy them because they're super cute, aren't they?
They are amazing. We're very lucky to have them.
They really are.
Matt, thank you very much for coming in this morning, explaining all that to us. It is fast approaching 8 o'clock.